Hello everybody and welcome back to the Modern Green Bay and Western. My name is Gabe and we are here at New London Siding. Here we got GB&W number 210 on, or in the siding, and we have CSX 4850 pulling up alongside. Today's video, as you probably saw from the title, is we're going to be painting this Kato SD70ACe into Green Bay and Western colors to help match the rest of my fleet. And then we're going to try a brand new process for painting locomotives, and that is using Tester's spray can paint in order to paint it, which I think will give it a much better look and finish. I've really gotten into using those, so yeah, let's get into the project. So again, this is a Kato SD70ACe. Again, I bought it because it's got that black undercarriage, so I don't have to worry about painting that. And for this one, like I said, we're going to spray paint it. Fortunately, really, we only have to spray two colors. We're going to have to spray the walkway black and the body red. I don't remember the simple paint scheme being a factor when I picked the Green Bay and Western as like my prototype that I was going to model and take after. But it really is an advantage that it's literally just red and black, which really makes it simple. So if you're coming up with your own freelance paint scheme, the plain color is a great way to start, at the very least. And throw some scare stripes on it, some decals or a logo, and it'll look pretty good. My biggest concern here is I want to keep the stuff up here in its original color. I believe this is a GPS dome. I'm sure that's some sort of antenna. And then this will have to say silver because I believe it would be painted blue if that's how every radiator would be. If not, I would imagine every radiator on an SD70ACe is silver. And anyways, even if it's not, it'll give a great visual interest to an otherwise all red locomotive with a black roof. Okay, we're over here on the workbench and we're going to start disassembling the locomotive for painting. First thing I'm going to do is start taking some of these grab irons off. They're just press fit. I have the jewel case here because in order to remove the shell from the body and the wheels, you kind of have to go through a somewhat odd and nerve-wracking process because there's no screws or anything that you can see on the underneath side that holds there. It's just press fit, so you kind of have to use a little bit of force, but not too much that you ruin your locomotive. So really what you want to do is kind of sit your locomotive like this on the jewel case, and you gotta pick it up and drop it like that. And that one came out first try. Most of the time I have to do that at least 3-4 times, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna just destroy this thing. But, and that's gonna go in the jewel case. Okay, found a little latch here. It needs to be pushed in. So looking at this pulls through, the entire railing assembly pulls through. I bet we can do the same on this side. There we go. It's one of those things that you want to just do a little bit at a time as best as you can. That way you don't accidentally break something. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside for the time being. There we go. Pulls apart. Alright, so now we have the long hood and the nose. But while I was messing around with it, here's a very tiny part that came out. It goes around the lights up by the windows there, so take that, put that in the jewel case. I'll have to get painted too. Okay, well, no idea what these are in real life, but they come out apparently. Interesting. There's 2 pins for this black piece, one here, and they both lock into that window, clear window plastic. Okay. So the interior cab assembly, and I guess I don't need this piece to come out, but it does come out if you were interested. And next to work on these windows, which is good that they come out because that silver in there looks like it would be quite the pain to try to mask. So I got the one side out. I'm going to show you what I did to do it. I put this underneath here, kind of gave it a little bit of a push forward. Pushing the windshield out a bit. Push it out through the front, kind of like that, and then it should pull out. And there we go. Got the other window. This looks like it'll pull out with just my fingers. There we go. Okay, so that's out, which is good. Won't paint that. And for this dome, it looks like should be able to push it out maybe with a screwdriver through the bottom. See those 2 holes? That's what I was pushing on. Oh, and there we go, fell out. Perfect. So then there's the dome. And there's the cab, as disassembled as you could want it to be. It's perfect. This is exactly how I want it to be, so I'm excited about that. And now to work on whatever mess is going on here. Let's see if this main assembly of railings comes undone, comes off here, which it appears it is. So many pieces, it's hard to make sure things undone. There we go. Alright. I would call that the main assembly of the railings. And then these ends should come off so we can also paint those. There's a little lip here. Oh, there we go. Which I think if I push on this little yellow, that will, yep, and everything comes apart. Perfect. There we go. Alright. So here's the 4 major parts of the locomotive. From what I can tell, I'm only going to need to take 2 things. I'm going to tape this radiator fan off so that it stays silver. I think that'll make it pop out, look good. And then I'm going to paint the roof black, and I'm going to have to tape that off once it's finished. Okay, back over to my definitely not just a cardboard box spray booth. Putting some masking tape down to hold down the smaller items and lightweight items. I'm going to start by just spraying the roof of the cab black. So everywhere you see white is what I want black. I don't really care about the rest of it for the time being. And then when we go for the red, we will mask off the black. Okay, well, I realized I accidentally forgot to film me spraying the other parts black. So I'm going to let that dry before I do anything with red. Okay, here's after the first coat. So for these, I really don't see any need to spray them again. They may anyways get a quick coat just because I don't really see a need to. This one, on the sides and stuff, the black you hear grayed, I don't really see any issues. I think I'm going to give the front a little bit of a spray just to repaint some of the stuff that was already black to begin with. You can kind of see the different finishes, so I think I'm going to do that just to avoid having that. And honestly, super efficient way of painting things with these tester spray cans. I'm sure an airbrush is probably just as efficient, if not more efficient, but I really like the coverage I get and how quickly stuff gets painted. It's not very tedious. This one probably turned out the worst, but I mean, really not bad by any means. It just needs another coat of black, so, especially on this side. So we're gonna work on that. Okay, so I didn't mention this last time because it didn't get filmed, even though I tried to. When you're spraying, you want to spray starting on one side, covering it completely, and then stopping on another side so that you don't have the start and stop marks on the item you're spraying itself. So here are the two parts that I need to mask. On this one, it's going to be the silver fan, like I mentioned earlier, and on here we got to mask the roof. Some things I have to think about when I'm masking this is what is supposed to be black and what is going to be red. So when I mask it, I got to make sure this little portion here is open to be sprayed. I'm thinking this little ledge here, this top of this windowsill, is going to be red just because the side is going to be red, considering where it's at. This will be a lot easier if you have a real prototype to go off of. I'm obviously going off of my own imagination here, since there were never any actual Green Bay and Western SD70ACe's. And then I think this little portion here, where the number boards will be, is going to be red also. The number boards I'm just painting over, and I'm going to put decals on there for the numbers. I don't really care about light up number boards, especially in N scale. So that'll be the tricky part on here. The tricky part here is going to be making a nice circle mask. I measured this, and it fortunately comes out to pretty much 1 centimeter, just a little under. So what I think I'm going to do is try to cut out a 1 centimeter circle and then trim it to size, and hopefully that works out the best. So okay, back in the spray booth, and here's everything that needs a coat of red. Over here I got all my detailed parts that I think are probably going to need more than one coat. I got them held on by some masking tape just to make sure they don't go anywhere while I'm spraying them. I imagine that the railings are going to need more than one coat, just because I'm sure I won't get in every nook and cranny the first time. Here's how the masks turned out. I think they're going to do well, and if there is any overspray, I will just have to fix it up with a paintbrush, which isn't the end of the world. That really still saves me a ton of time and effort, so I'm pretty happy with that. This one actually turned out pretty well. I had to do a couple extra pieces. I think if there is any overspray, I can always just correct it by painting them red as opposed to the silver. I just think the silver is going to look neat, so that's why I want to keep it. Or I can try fixing it up as silver. So before I do that, what kind of paint am I using for my Green Bay and Western Red? Easy. This is Tester's Red. That's what I've been using on every other locomotive that I painted in the Green Bay and Western colors. And I think it's, if not a perfect match, a fairly good match, and one that most people aren't going to notice the difference. I'm not a rivet counter. I think all of you can see that. So we are in that good enough category. So. Okay, well, we're at that portion of every paint job on a locomotive where you do the first coat and you go, yep, I destroyed it, I ruined it, I spent all that money on a locomotive, and it is destroyed by this paint job I'm doing. I decided to put some gloves on because I keep getting paint all over my hands no matter how long I let this dry. There's pools down at the bottom and stuff. So overall, it's doing good. Got to remember to get the fans underneath the radiator. One of these shots. It's going to take a few coats. I think what's done the best is my smaller things, but this will definitely need another coat. And the other reason I'm wearing gloves is I'm going to be able to hold this and spray it and not worry about my hands being completely covered in red paint. But everything seems dry enough that I can go ahead and give it extra coats, and that's what I'm going to do. Oops. Okay, we're down here for coat 3 of red. Now that we're on coat number 3, I'm just gonna kind of talk about some philosophy behind this channel and behind some of the stuff I do. Most of the time when you're watching me do things on this channel, it's the first time I'm doing it or like the second time I'm doing it. A lot of this is just me kind of doing things and figuring out how it goes as I go along. Kind of like how I expect many of you guys work on your layouts and stuff. You know, you read and watch, learn about things about your layout, but you never really learn until you do it. You know, in this case, honestly, a quick coat of the gray that I use for concrete on my layout might have actually made this process go a lot faster. Would have been a good undercoat. Now, I'm not saying that you can't learn anything from this channel. Just don't take everything I do as gospel truth. Even saw in between two videos I changed the way I use wet water. I'm just learning. Most of this is just to document how I built this layout. This isn't really meant to impart a lot of knowledge, but I like watching videos like this, so I figured I'd make some. And I have fun making them, honestly. But yeah, so a long way of saying that, you know, there might be things here that I'm not doing the best or the greatest, or there's probably smarter ways of going about it. I don't disagree. And honestly, if you tell me that down in the comments, I don't dislike it. I greatly appreciate it. But this is the way we're going about it, and well, hopefully I don't mess anything up too badly, and you guys get a decent video to watch. There's just a few things that need a little more paint. One being, you can see kind of where the corners are on this nose. The paint has not adhered 100%, and it almost, it kind of is giving it a gray weathered effect if it wasn't for the fact that the blue is what's showing through. But, so I gotta get that covered. And then I also realized, as I was thinking about putting decals on, I'm gonna have to paint this strip down here black. So that's another step that I didn't quite realize. And that way I can put the checkerboard pattern on the locomotive that all Green Bay and Western locomotives have. On the long hood, the only problems I have is right here. There's a little bit of blue still seeping through, and also around these radiator fans. It's a little hard to see in the camera, but I can see it with my eye. And then I'll probably give the side another coat just to make sure that CSX doesn't show through. But once you get decals and dull coat on there, you're never going to see that. So here's the major parts with the painting essentially completed. I just had to do a little touch up around the radiator back here after taking the mask off, and also a little bit on the roof of the cab after taking the mask off. But otherwise the masks worked really well. For assembly, we have some railings that need to be painted white, and then it's time to decal. I've done decaling a lot on this channel and recently, so I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm using a basic Green Bay and Western decals from Circus City. The only thing I really have to modify on those is extending the sill stripes. And also on this project, I'm going to have to put them in two pieces, as there's that portion that's part of the cab that needs sill striping, and then there is the portion on the rest of the frame that needs sill striping. So it's something I have to deal with when it comes to decaling. Next is numbers. I'm going to pick some numbers out of my list I have for locomotives on the Green Bay and Western that are fictional. And then before I assemble it, I'm going to hit everything with a coat of dull coat so that it's not shiny and looks more realistic. And when I decide to weather my locomotive, it will have something for the chalks and paint to grip to. And then it's assembly, which is probably going to be just as hard and painstaking as taking it apart. But at least now I kind of have an idea of how it's supposed to go back together. And with that all said and done, here is the finished product. Green Bay and Western number 513, an SD70ACe. And I gotta say, she didn't turn out half bad. Like I mentioned before, first time using spray paint to paint a locomotive. I think it turned out well. I believe there's some things I learned. First of all, I think next time I do this, I'm either going to spray it a flat color, such as that gray that I mentioned, before I paint it with the more enamel or satin covering. I'm going to allow the paint to adhere better. After, I'm going to completely strip the paint or work with the undercoat of the locomotive. We'll see when we get to the next one, what we end up doing. But overall, I'm very happy with the results. I know this has been a little bit of a longer video, so I appreciate everybody who's stuck through and watched the whole thing to see the final result. I'm very excited to have Green Bay and Western SD70ACe able to lead freight around the layout. So, again, thanks everybody for watching. If you have any suggestions to make this a better painting process, leave the comments down below. I always read all of them, so I look forward to seeing some nuggets of knowledge down there. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, watch another video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great week.